Jake here for American Muscle, and today I'm taking a look at these C&L Super Sport cross-drilled and slotted rear brake rotors fitting 2016 to 2024 Camaro SS models. Now, brakes are some of the most important components of your car, and if you're looking for a way to upgrade your Camaro's braking performance without having to spend a fortune, these drilled and slotted rotors are worth some serious consideration. Now, traditionally, manufacturers will equip their cars with solid discs from the factory, and even with the Camaro SS's performance, you're still getting solid discs in the rear. And while those work just fine for most applications, there's definitely room for improvement. Now, one of the best ways to do that is by upgrading to a set of drilled and slotted rotors like these, because they're going to be extremely helpful in dissipating heat. Now, heat is the enemy of braking performance, and that's where the channels and the holes in the faces of the rotors come into play. Now, as you apply the brakes, friction and heat build up on the pads and the faces of the rotors, and these channels funnel that heat away from the pads. The holes will allow another escape route, and the heat can dissipate and get funneled out through the rotor's central vanes here. So all those hot gases have plenty of places through which to escape, and less heat means less chance of fading and better overall braking response. Now, if you've ever had brakes get hot or go soft on you, you know how scary of an experience that can be. So doing everything you can to avoid it is absolutely worth whatever price you gotta pay. Now, that's all to say you're gonna get much better heat dissipation, which means that your braking performance will be improved over stock. Now, another benefit of having these vanes on the front of the rotors is also that they will help get moisture off the faces of the rotors and pads. And if you live in the Northeast or anywhere where it rains a lot and you've driven through a torrential downpour, you have that little scary moment where you first hit the brakes after you've been driving for a while, and it takes them a moment to get that water off. These are going to help avoid that in the first place. So when you have that first application after you've been driving for a while, they're going to start to bite right away. And the rotors here are constructed from CNC machined premium cast iron, so they're actually similar in construction to your standard OEM brakes. As you can see, they're also finished in a bright zinc electroplating, and that's going to help prevent against rust and corrosion for a long time to come. So all on your mating surfaces and on the front of the rotors, they're not going to turn that really rusty color right out of the gate. However, that cast iron construction also means that the price stays low. Speaking of which, this set is going to run you about $100, which is very much on the lower end of the price spectrum for rear brake rotors. Especially since these have that drilled and slotted design we were talking about, they're about the least expensive option for drilled and slotted rotors for the rear of the Camaro as well. Now, of course, these also pair very well with the matching set of front brakes, which we do have available on our site. And I would highly recommend picking those up too. That way you've got a nice match set. And while we're at it, this is also a great time to get some new upgraded pads on as well, since you're already going to be on the site, and when you go to put these on your car, you're going to have to remove your calipers anyway. So while you're at it, why not give it a nice refresh? Installation will come in at a 2 out of 3 on our difficulty meter, and it should take you about 2 hours to complete the job. Now, brakes are a pretty straightforward job, just one that might be a little time consuming. And you will, of course, again, have to remove the calipers to get these installed. However, this is definitely a job you can accomplish at home, and to show you how to get it done now, let's hand things over to one of our AM customers.
For this installation, you will need a hammer, wrenches. If you don't have power wrenches, regular wrenches will work just fine. Pliers, preferably 2 flat heads, a pick, a 30 T-Torx, and a 15 socket, preferably whichever one you will use. I use both of them in this installation for a 1/2 inch and a 3/8. And again, if you don't have power tools, regular wrenches and tools will work perfectly fine. The first step you need to do is to remove the rear tires on both sides. And for the Camaro SS, you will need a 22 socket and an impact to get the lug nuts off. For the next step, you will need to get a little pick and a hammer to tap the slide pins out of the caliper. Once you tap the slide pins out of the little slots, go ahead and get pliers and pull the slide pin out of the rest of the caliper. Once you get the brake pads out, you want to go ahead and get a ratchet and a size 15 socket and get the back of the brake caliper bolts out. When you get the caliper off, make sure to prop it up safely so it's not hanging by the brake line. And now for the next step, you'll need a 30 Torx bit, a ratchet, or an impact wrench. After the Torx bit is out of the rotor, first and foremost, you want to make sure that your parking brake is off. If you need to lower your car, if your car is on jack stands, make sure that you safely get into the car and safely remove the parking brake, and safely disengage the parking brake. After all of that is said and done, you can now safely remove the rotor. Now that your old rotor is off, you want to now install your new C&L Super Sport HD cross drilled and slided rotors. Make sure that your hole right here is lined up perfectly with the hole that is in the back of the bearing. After that is done, you want to take your Torx bolt and take your T30 with your ratchet and put it back in. Make sure not to over tighten it or the bolt will snap. Next, after you have the Torx bolt into the rotor, you want to put your caliper back on by putting both of those 215 bolts right back in there. Start them by hand first, and then you want to finish them off with the ratchet. So we'll start them both by hand after we line up the caliper. Get the bolt in there and find the hole, and just start threading them by hand. And you want to do this so that you don't cross thread any bolts, because if you cross thread it, you will need to replace the entire caliper. And now that we have them in there by hand, we can go ahead and hit them with the ratchet. You just want to make sure that they're tight, but not too tight to where you break a bolt. Right about there. Over that, make sure everything's tight, and you're good. And now that the caliper is tight and snug on there, next we want to decompress the pistons inside of the caliper. I recommend using the old brake pads before you put the new ones in there, because you don't want to scratch up anything or break off the material on them. After you collect both old brake pads, you want to just slide them both in there and make sure they're positioned in front of the piston. Get two flat heads, put them in between the middle of the rotor and the pad on both sides, and you want to just squeeze or push in the opposite direction. Once you get them both in there like that, take out both old brake pads, and you will see that both pistons, all four pistons on the rear, are all decompressed in. After you decompress the pistons in the caliper, you now want to get your new pads and slide them both in there. Align them with the holes that are in the calipers for the slide pins. Make sure they're in there correctly. There we go. Now that we have the brake pads in the caliper, you now want to collect your slide pins and your slide pin plate. Place the plate in there on the back of the brake pad. Align this brace with the holes of the pads and the caliper. You will see, if you look directly in there, that you can see straight through. So now you want to get this first one started. and you'll see it's in there. And the second one will be the same exact thing. Once you get them both in there, you'll be able to set the pins in the front of the caliper. You might want to get a pick and the hammer and just gently tap the back of the slide pins until it's flush with the caliper.
That's going to wrap it up here for our review and install of the C&L Super Sport cross-drilled and slotted rear brake rotors fitting 2016 to 2024 Camaro SS's. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, for all things Camaro, be sure to keep it right here at AmericanMuscle.com.